Hey, all right, Slop.
Twab, call Twab. You can text it to me.
All right, Con.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Want to start off by giving all honor and glory to Yahweh.
Yahweh, Ba'ashem,
Yahweh.
Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kakodash.
Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone, there be wealth, peace, and blessings to like to Israel. All right. Just gonna get into it, man. Brother and I, we was doing another lesson, and through the spirit, this popped up. We want to look at the scripture of Isaiah 4:1 real quick, and I want to touch on the fact of what it means by take away our reproach. All right.
This is Isaiah 4:1, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, "We will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach."
Right. So the part where it says, 7 women shall take hold of one man. All right, we're coming into them times, man, because in the times of trouble, you women are going to need a man to protect you. Moreover, a man of the Lord, all right, because that's what's going to be the most profitable man to protect you. Because if you have a wicked man trying to protect you, the Lord can whack his ass off and whack you off too, man. All right, and that's actually how it's going to go for a lot of you women. A lot of you women, well, I won't say all of you or a lot of you, but some of you women who got men now, the Lord is going to whack your man off just so that you could be a woman of the man of the Lord. That's the same thing that happened with Tobias in the book of Tobit. Tobit's wife, she had if I'm not mistaken, she had multiple husbands before Tobit. Not that she was a harlot, but they all kept dying. They all kept dying. Why is that? Because it says it in the scripture that the Lord saved Tobias, or he saved that woman for Tobias by right of inheritance, man. So it was set up in the spirit.
Yeah, that's your pa.
Yeah. So that's the times that, hey, that's how it's going to be for some of the men of the Lord, man. Matter of fact, let me get this real quick.
That makes sense, too.
This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, starting at verse 33. It says, the virgin shall mourn, Shalom, 2nd Ezra 16 and 33. It says, the virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. So just like how we're reading right now, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying what? We will eat our own bread, we will wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. They're going to be mourning because they're not going to have no man to look after them. That's why it says in Isaiah 32, if you don't mind grabbing that real quick for me, brother. Isaiah 32. You can just go straight to verse 2, Baba Shah.
Isaiah 32:2, and a man shall be as an hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land.
Right. A man is going to be for foundation, comfort, all right, shelter, a hiding place. Basically meaning you women are going to need a man in the times that we're coming into, man. All right. Going back to what we brought out in the last lesson, a man shall be more precious than fine gold, because an Israelite man of the elect, he's going to be high commodity in the times of Jacob's trouble, man. More precious than fine gold.
And that's why they're going to be cleaving.
Right.
Cleaving unto you, all your claims.
God. So that's why it says in Isaiah 4:1, it says what it says. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. But now let's go ahead and further expound on the point I made earlier. All right. And then, I took a screenshot of it because I remember I sent it to the chat. So I'm going to read what I had written. 2nd Ezra 16 and 33, the virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. And then I said, speaking as a man, some of them widows and virgins could be women for the men of the Lord. And then I brought up this scripture right here. This is Tobit, or you mind getting it for me? It's in the Apocrypha. Tobit, 3rd chapter.
God.
So this is all biblical. You know what I mean? It's all biblical, man. Because think about it. That's not really going off, because the scriptures say in Romans the 7th chapter, it tells you what? A woman is bound by her husband until he dies. So let's just say the Lord has it set up in the spirit for a certain woman to be with you, but she got a man. Guess what? The Lord gonna whack his ass off, man. He's gonna get whacked off, man. The Lord gonna murk him so that that woman could be with you if you're, if the Lord has it set up for that in the spirit. Let me get the scripture real quick.
What was that Toby that you wanted again?
Uh, Tobit chapter 3, and you can start at verse 15, but I'm going to get this scripture real quick for edification.
All right, Con.
This is Romans 7, starting at verse 1. Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law hath dominion over a man as long as he liveth. For the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth.
Con.
If the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband. Right. So in order for a woman, for it to be lawful for the woman to be with another man, is for her husband to be dead.
If not, then they both commit adultery.
Right, right. So now, brother got Tobit 3, and it all ties in, man.
This
It
is
all
Tobit.
ties in.
This is Tobit 3 in verse 15. And that I never polluted my name, nor the name of my father in the land of my captivity. I am the only daughter of my father, neither have he any child to be his heir, neither any near kinsman nor any son of his alive, to whom I may keep myself for a wife. My 7 husbands are already dead, and why should I live? But if it please not thee that I should die, command some regard to be had of me, and pity taken of me, that I hear no more reproach.
Ooh, does that not go back to Isaiah 4?
Con, that's the point.
And verse 16, Baba Kushal,
I got it, Con. So
read it
that
down to like, you can read down to verse 17, all the way down.
that's your part. Okay. So the prayers of them the prayers of them both were heard before the majesty of the great power, and Raphael was sent to heal them both. That is to scale away the whiteness of Tobit's eyes, and to give Sarah the daughter of Rogel for a wife to Tobias, the son of Tobit.
Tobias.
I'm sorry, Tobias Lakia.
Good.
The son of Tobit, into buying Asmodeus,
Asmodeus, I think.
Asmodeus, the evil spirit, because she belonged to Tobias by right of inheritance. The self same time came Tobit home and entered into his house. Sarah, the daughter of Rogel, came down from her upper chamber.
Hey, so that all plays into the spirit. She had 7 husbands.
It's crazy.
And that's actually kind of spiritual because Isaiah 4 and 1 says what? 7 women shall take hold of one man. But that's
yeah.
But nevertheless, it says she had 7 husbands, which she probably literally had 7 husbands because she was a woman. She really, she really only supposed to have one. But nevertheless, she had 7 husbands, man, and it said they all died. Lord whacked off all of them, man. And then Raphael, which is in the Hebrew, I think it's Rapha something Allah, if I'm not mistaken, which means like a God that heals, or healing God, healing power, because power also like can represent angels as well. That's why they're called Allahayim, which means powers. Nevertheless, Raphael healed them both. All right, he healed Tobit, which is Tobias' father, because he had I think a bird shit in his eyes or something like that, and he was blind. It tells you about that in earlier the story. And then Ragael, she basically all her husbands kept dying, so she was sorrowful. She was like, shit, like she said about her reproach, man, that I hear no more of reproach, because people was getting on her like, shit, you got all these different husbands, you still don't got no child, da 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 da. That was a thing back in the ancient world, man. It was a shameful thing to not have children as a woman back in the ancient world. Now these women like, shit, I'm gonna go get an abortion,
Yep.
Fuck that, plan B, da 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 da, But back in the ancient world, that was a shameful thing, man. So nevertheless, the point was to bounce off what I said earlier, just to make it brief. Some of you men out here who are wicked, your wife could be a wife set up in the spirit for a man of the Lord. And guess what? The Lord gonna have to whack you off and get you out of the way in order to get the man of the Lord your woman. That's just plain and simple, man. And it's in the scriptures, in the scriptures. But yeah. All right. Now we can go back to Isaiah 4:1, Akia. Read it again, I guess.
All right, this is Isaiah 4:1. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach.
Right. So what does that mean? You're gonna have sex with that woman, man. It's because she to be taken called by your name, meaning you marrying her. All right. And according to Exodus, I believe it's Exodus 22. Let me get that real quick just for the sake of edification. And while I get that, Bible Kashar, can you get me Genesis 30 on standby? Bible Kashar. It's Exodus 22, starting at verse 16. It says, and if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, talking about having sex, she shall surely, it's like he shall surely endow her to be his wife. So when you have sex with a woman, that's marriage. But brother, you got Genesis?
Yeah, Genesis 30.
Yeah, start at verse 1, read to verse 2, and then skip to 22. When you're doing it. Yeah, All
right, this is Genesis 30. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, give me children or else I die.
Because like I said earlier, back in the ancient world, it was a reproachful thing for a woman to not have children because they understood the role of a woman. Now these women think they can do whatever like a man can do. You know, women are better than men. Girls rock that whole effeminate women worship spirit, Queen of Heaven spirit. Nevertheless, back in the ancient world, they understood the use of a woman, the purpose of a woman, man. And that's to repopulate, man. That's one of the main jobs of a woman. Repopulate, serve your husband, teach your daughters to come up as a righteous woman, you know, so to speak. You know, that was like the main job of a woman. So she understood, shit, if I don't have no children, then I'm gonna die because what the hell? I got reproach.
I have no purpose.
Right. And we're gonna get some more scriptures to expound on that, man. Let me get this real quick while the brothers in Genesis. This is 1 Timothy chapter 2, starting at verse 15. 1 Timothy 2 and 15. Actually, I'll start at verse 13. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. Right. So if you continue in righteousness, you're going to be saved through childbearing, man. All right? That's why it says in Isaiah 4:1, only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Now that's why we brought out Genesis 30, because it's going to tell you what the reproach is, man.
All right. And this is verse 2, Isaiah 30 Genesis 30 verse 2. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, am I in Yahweh's stead, who have withheld from thee the fruit of the womb?
Right. Meaning, is he the Lord? Is he the Most High God that's not making you pregnant? You know, you could bust into Eve 1,000,000 times, but if the Lord don't want her to be pregnant, she's not gonna be pregnant. You know, infertile. God. But verse 22. Yeah,
And Yahweh remembered Rachel, and Yahweh hearkened to her and opened her womb.
So he allowed her to get pregnant.
And she, verse 23, and she conceived and bare a son and said, Yahweh have taken away my reproach.
So he said, the Lord took away my reproach, man. Because what? She conceived the son. So that reproach in the scriptures, what Isaiah 4:1, to take away our reproach, meaning let us have children by you. You know, so we can be saved, man. You know, that's how it's gonna be, man. You know? So that's what the reproach means in the scriptures. And like I said, back in the ancient world, for a woman to not have a husband and to not bear children, that was a shameful thing. I got a precept to back it up real quick. This is 1 Timothy. And while I get this, Bible Shah, can you get Romans for me? Romans 1. This is first water. 1 Timothy 5, starting at verse 9. It says, let not a widow be taken into the number under 80 years old, having been the wife of one man. Well reported. So basically saying, don't let these women be widows, meaning no husbands, under a certain age, man. Okay? Under a certain age, you women should already have been bearing children, man. Verse 10, it says, well reported for good works if she have brought up children, if she have lodged strangers, and that's something they did back in the ancient world. You had the stranger and sojourner. They would. Jake was back then in the ancient world. Jake had hospitality, man. They seen somebody straggling along on the streets. Guess what? They would let them come into their crib. They would feed them. So on and so forth, man. And that's what they did a lot of times. That's what a lot of women did for the men of the Lord. Like Apostle Paul spoke about certain women that helped him push the gospel because what? They fed him. They gave him places of shelter, so on and so forth. That was back in the ancient world. And we're going to come back to that, in the kingdom. But nevertheless, just a little history on our culture. It says, verse 8, it says, if, 1 Timothy 5 and verse 10, it says, well reported for good works, if she have brought up children, if she have lodged strangers, if she have washed the saints' feet, if she have relieved the afflicted, if she have diligently followed every good work. But the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Mashiach, they will marry. Right? So basically, you women, there were some women, they was like, all right, we're only going to, some women, they didn't want to get a husband. They wanted to say, all right, we're going to dedicate our lives to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. But that's the thing. If you was to do that, you had to stay that way, man. If you're a younger Eve. That's why it says what? But the younger widows, because to be a widow means you have no husband. But the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Mashiach. So wanton, like it says in Isaiah 3, they had wanton eyes. Eve's like, shit, I know I was going to keep myself up, and basically be a eunuch in a sense for the kingdom. But, now I'm seeing I'm kind of burning. Eve's burning now. And she's like, shit, I'm trying to, she waxing wanton against Mashiach, man. She's like, shit, I'm looking for some rock, And then it says, when they begin to have wax wanton against Mashiach, they will marry, having damnation because they have cast off their first faith. Right. And wherewithal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. I will therefore that the younger woman marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. Right. So that's the point, man. All right. So that's the point. That's the whole role of a woman, a younger woman. I'll read it again. I will therefore that the younger woman marry, bear children. Marry means to have sex. Bear children. Guide the house. Right. Train up a child the way he shall go.
Plain and simple.
Give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully, man. And that's what a lot of these women be doing. They be talking shit about their men outside behind their back, giving occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully, man. So nevertheless, the brothers got Romans, and we could probably close out after that.
You said Romans what?
Romans 1, and then start at verse you could start at verse 27 just to go straight to the point.
All right, Khan. And likewise also the men leaving Romans 1 and 27. And likewise, also the men leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was met.
Right. So the men left the natural use of the woman, man. All right. Now, when you go into that word use in the Greek, all right, let's go into that word use.
Strong's G 5540. Chresis.
All right. And what does it say? Use of the sexual use of a woman. It says employment. Hold up. Does not woman mean female servant?
Come on.
Employment, especially sexual intercourse as an occupation of the body.
Woo!
And matter of fact, you know what this reminds me of?
Just now.
You know what this reminds me of? Let me get this real quick. Duty of marriage. Because it said employment, right? And that's the thing. Being really, being an Israelite woman, or really being a woman, because this was a thing of the ancient world. Now these women, because even before Babylon, right? A little bit before Babylon started putting these women on a pedestal, what would these women be doing? Staying home. They weren't going to school. They weren't going to work. They weren't working a 9 to 5 like how you do now. No, what were they doing? They were staying home, being keepers of home. That was their full-time job. You know what I mean? That was their full-time job, man. That's why it says what? The natural use of a woman, you go into the word use, it says what? Use of the sexual use of a woman, employment, especially sexual intercourse as an occupation of the body. So that was these women's job back in the ancient world, man. To be keepers at home. Maintaining a house is a full-time job, man. But now what? What do? They go hire babysitters. They go hire nannies. They hire helpers. You know what I mean? Being a woman back in that was a full-time job. But guess what? Through this damn devil being in rulership, everything is all out of course. But now I want to go ahead because it said occupation, right? Or employment. I want to get this real quick. This is Exodus 21:10. It says, if he take him another wife, which is a cut, proving that you can have more than one wife. It says, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. So let's just say you have a wife, right? And one of them you favor over the other, you know, and the other one, you don't really fuck with her like that. Kind of like same thing with Jacob, Rachel, and Leah, you know. Jacob, who did he want at first? He wanted Rachel. You know, Rachel was probably thick as hell, fine as hell, you know. Leah she probably looked straight, but Jacob was like, shit, I want Rachel. You know what I mean? If I had to choose, I'm gonna get Rachel. But Laban, being a Hebrew, he finessed Jacob, and he was like, shit, you know, I can't give you my younger daughter. My older one don't got a man, because like I said earlier, that was a thing back in the ancient world. That was a reproachful thing for women not to be married off. So Laban was like, shit, take my older daughter and then work 7 more years, and I'll give you my younger daughter. You know. So Jacob was like, shit, all right, whatever, man. You know, nevertheless, the point is, if you had a wife that you hated and a wife that you love, you still gotta give them both rod, man. You know, you still gotta feed them both. You still gotta give them both clothing. And that's kind of like, it's funny though that we brought this up, because through the Spirit, what does it say in Isaiah 4:1? What they say? We're gonna provide it for ourselves. just our own. Right. She said, what? We're gonna make our own, we're gonna eat our own bread, wear our own apparel. God. You don't gotta provide nothing. Just let us be called by your name. In other words, let us sleep with you. God. That's the times we're gonna be coming in. But that's beautiful though. It all ties up through the Spirit, man. And that goes to show you the unison of the scriptures, man. Nevertheless, it says what? Exodus 21:10. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. Going back into the word occupation that we saw earlier in the Greek, let's go into the word duty of marriage. What does it say? In the Hebrew, that will be inawa, it looks like it's be iwana, all right? Iwana, you got the I, the wa, and the na, iwana, and the word is what? Marriage, or it's like a duty of marriage. It says cohabitational conjugal rights. It says meaning to dwell together, sexual cohabitation, duty of marriage. So that's a part of your job. That's a part of your job description as being a wife. Right. You know, throwing it back, man. You know, and taking care of the house and the children, man. That's a full-time job, man. That's a full-time job. And that was the way the order was back in the ancient world, and it's coming back to be to that order, man, in the kingdom to come. You know? The man is the breadwinner. You know, that whole woman working and stuff like that, that came in Babylon, man. That was a Babylonian thing, man. Because you had what? You had the women's rights, you know, and things of that nature, man. That's all part of the wine of Babylon and that women worship spirit, man. But that's really the whole point of this lesson, you know.
That was your pa.
Call like Yahweh Shem Shai.
Call hello Yahweh Shem Shai.
You got any other last thoughts, Akil?
Yeah, I was gonna say I was thinking about I believe that's in 1 Corinthians. Let me double check real quick. Pretty much where it says wait, hold on.
You can quote it.
Yeah, where it says pretty much if the husband wants to have sex, the wife has to have sex.
Oh, yep.
Or
1
versa.
Corinthians 7.
Say that again.
I can read it. 1 Corinthians 7.
Con.
I can read that for you. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, starting at verse 1. Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Now, I want to say something real quick.
I knew what you were going to say.
Yep. You got it. You got it.
So you're pretty much going to say, yeah, like he wasn't saying for Jake to be gay. He was just, when Apostle Paul was speaking, when he said for it's good for a man not to touch a woman, because he's going to say down later, because he knows, what comes behind that.
Right.
All right. So that's why it says, but where Jake at the end of the day, so that's what happened. But where it says, nevertheless, to avoid the fornication, let every man have his own wife, let every woman have her own husband. So you can't, you're not supposed to be touching another man's wife. That's going off.
Yeah, and then that's why Apostle Paul said that. Because what? Having an Eve is trouble in the flesh, man. When, like the brother said, it says later on, it says what? I'm gonna get it. 1 Corinthians 7, and what he said? Basically, he said what? The time has come that they that have wives be as though they had none. You know what I mean? Because what? We're gonna be always occupied in this truth, man. So we don't have time for our Eve like that in the times that we're in. And that's why Apostle Paul said that. It's better you don't touch a woman so you can be focused on Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Because if you do got an Eve, it comes with trouble in the flesh. And like we just brought out earlier, you can't take away the duty of marriage. You can't diminish that. You still got to feed her, clothe her, make sure she's straight pretty much, and give her rod, man. But let's just say, look, you go out, you take your Eve to eat, you take your Eve to go shop, you giving your Eve rod. If you didn't have an Eve, you could be using that time to what? Study, make lessons, fellowship, so on and so forth, man. That's why Apostle Paul said that. It's better you don't touch a woman so that you can focus on Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And brothers experience that firsthand because brothers got Eves. I'm not saying don't deal with an Eve, but we're just saying it's better that you don't so that you can focus.
Your time will be devoted.
Right. But I'm gonna keep reading, Akia, and then I'm gonna let you. Salaki, it's gotta.
You got it. It's the spirit. Because I say that all the time. I say that all the time. Like, if it's in the Lord's will and that it just doesn't work, hey, no more. Just focus straight in on the truth.
Right. Yep, that's a precept. I'm gonna read on. The brother put it on the comment board. Shalom, Tazamak. That's 1 Corinthians 7. And verse 2, it says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife and let every woman have her own husband. And that doesn't mean that you're only allowed to have one wife, because people take that scripture out of context. Just because I have more than one wife doesn't mean she's not my own wife. I got more than 2 pairs of shoes, right? But that's my own pairs of shoes. Same way how my brother got more than 1 pair of shoes, but that's his own pair of shoes, man. So nevertheless, verse 3, it says, let the husband. And I'm gonna say this because the spirit on me to say it. I'm not saying you women are likened into a pair of shoes. All right, don't take it out of context. But you women are a possession, and that's in the scriptures. Verse 3, 1 Corinthians 7 and 3. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. Verse 4. The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband, and likewise also the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife.
So that means if Eve's ready, man, you got to be ready. You can't be like, hey, I'm not doing this tonight. hey, you going off? So and vice versa. I'm going to tell you what the exception is.
Right. Verse 5. Defraud you not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency.
Right. So unless Jake is literally fasting, or or praying, like, hey, if he's praying, hey, don't go in there and try to grab his balls or something, like, what I'm saying, like, hey, this ain't time.
Right. basically, you know, respect that time set apart, man. You know,
Con.
and that's beautiful. And then that's beautiful because when you keep reading, it says what? Come together again. So Apostle Paul's like, shit, all right, once you're done with your fasting, once you're done with your praying, now go do the business. So what? So
Con.
Satan doesn't tempt you for your incontinency. I want to go into that word real quick for edification's sake.
Con.
Man, this is beautiful, man, you know, and then this is all through the Spirit because I promise you, you know, I did not have all this planned out, you know, but the Spirit brings out that edification and the body is fed, man. And that's what it's all about, man. You know, and the water, Aki, for helping me with this, man, for real.
Con. Hey, the water y'all watching outside.
The water, y'all about to shy. This is 1 Corinthians 7:5, going into that word incontinency in the Greek.
Strong's G 192. Akrasia. Akrasia.
All right. And you know, it's kind of crazy. The Greek is like English low key. You got the A, the K, the R. I mean, this looks like a P, but it looks like a dragged along R. And then you got the A again. You know, this is supposed to be an S. You know what I mean? And this actually, that goes to show you that Hebrew is the original language because when you look at the modern Assyrian Hebrew and you go to the word S, it looks like that. It looks like that. It kind of looks like that. You know? Nevertheless, that was just a little. All right, here it is. It says, want of self-control, incontinency, intemperance. Basically, lack of self-control, man. You know? Like if you burn it so much, you know, you gonna act upon your lust because you burn it so much, man. You know, so that's why I'm saying Paul was like, all right, now come back together so Satan doesn't tempt you for your lack of self-control, you know, because you burning a lot, man, you know. And what you might do if your Eve, if it's vice versa, let's just say it's for your Eve, right? You don't ever come back, you know, your Eve is burning, what's more than likely she gonna do? Because she is the weaker vessel, them demons gonna hop on her. What's she gonna do? She gonna sleep with another nigga, man. If the opportunity presents itself. You know, or maybe even vice versa. Your Eve, she holding out on you. What you gonna do? You probably gonna slide off, and you're not going off if you go slide off on another Eve, but you might end up sliding on another Eve who got a man. You know? Right. So that's the point. You got anything else, Akia?
No, that's it.
Yeah, Khan. So hey, Lord's will, this video was edifying. I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh. Double honesty, others and apostles, great Muslim, that we well. Peace and blessings to like the Israel. All right. Shalom and a
Shalom.
Shalom.